As I have aforementioned in previous videos, we learned a lot of interesting information about Hillary Clinton's campaign during the 2016 presidential election via the DNC leaks. And one thing we learned is that Robby Mook, Hillary's campaign manager during her 2016 run for president, was trying to control the Democratic primaries in terms of the schedule, in terms of when states got to hold their primaries. And we learned this from a couple of emails from Robby Mook. Now, we already went over one of those emails in a recent video, in which Robby is very specific, talking about moving states up and back in the primary schedule, as well as keeping certain states where they were. Today, I want to talk about a different email from Robby, and this is an email Robby wrote to John Podesta, Hillary's campaign chair during Hillary's 2016 run for presidency. Specifically, Robby Mook said, FYI, Lehane called me about California's primary, and I told him that the operating strategy is to keep blue states late, i.e. don't move California. He said he was at dinner with you and was under the impression that you wanted to move it earlier. He's wondering how to proceed, and I said to try to get us on the same page and go back with an answer. Are you okay with me saying that we both want California to stay where it is? For the record, if you are wondering why I read CA as California, it's because CA is California's abbreviation. So this is really bad. Campaigns should not be allowed to influence the primary schedule unless every single candidate is in agreement, because the order in which states have their primaries could possibly have an enormous effect on who wins the primary in the form of momentum. If a lot of your good states show up early in the primary, it can be a huge advantage, because you can potentially build up victories and a big lead very quickly, which is exactly what happened in the Democratic primary in 2016. So many of the states that figured to be pro-Hillary, the conservative states, held their primaries early on in the Democratic primary, and Hillary took advantage of this favorable schedule and built up a big lead. And unfortunately, it could have led to a lot of people feeling that her winning the nomination was inevitable, even though Bernie in actuality ended up making it a close matchup and giving himself a chance to win. Think about what if the schedule had been in reverse. What if Bernie had the states that figured to be pro-Bernie stacked up in the beginning of the primary schedule? If Bernie started off winning the majority of the states and built up a big lead, it could have meant the world to his campaign, because he would have then had the momentum, which is a very powerful thing. And let's not forget, a lot of people didn't know who Bernie was at first, but as the Democratic primary went on, his approval rating just kept going up. The more people heard him talk, the more they liked him. So much so that he was able to overcome the momentum Hillary had created early on in the Democratic primaries, with her victories and big lead. And Bernie was able to get it to a point, once we hit the New York primary, that he had a real shot at winning. If the Democratic primary schedule had been more favorable in the beginning towards Bernie, and he was able to build up a lead as opposed to Hillary, seeing as people seem to like Bernie the more they see him, chances are the Democratic primaries could have ended very differently. Bernie very well could have won, because as aforementioned, momentum is a very powerful thing. The schedule of the primaries was, unfortunately, one of the many ways the Democratic primary was rigged against Bernie. And it's a shame too, because it was very clear via polling that the American people wanted Bernie to be the Democratic nominee for the general election. And according to the aforementioned polling, he had a great chance to beat Trump, and probably would have. This isn't right. Campaigns should not be allowed to influence the schedule of primaries because it can create an unfair advantage. Hey guys, if you want to help out this show, you can follow our various social media links. Also, we have a Facebook group that you can join as well. And if you want to follow me on social media, you could do that as well. Alright guys.